BBC News. Hello, I'm Jerry Smith. The de facto leader of Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi, has rejected accusations that the Burmese security forces committed genocide against the Rohingya Muslim minority. The Nobel Peace Laureate was addressing the International Court of Justice. Anna Holligan is outside the court in The Hague.
Aung San Suu Kyi said she understood the definition of genocide, but went on to characterise Myanmar as something else, an internal armed conflict, which began in 2016, she said, when Rohingya militants launched attacks on army posts, killing 9 police officers. The military responded with a clearance operation, which she said was simply an expression in Myanmar that means to clear an area of insurgents or terrorists. She made no reference to the UN's estimate that 10,000 Rohingyas were killed and failed to acknowledge the graphic witness testimony of military firing squads, gang rapes and babies thrown into burning buildings.
Political leaders in Britain are embarking on a flurry of last-minute campaigning ahead of Thursday's election. Both the Conservative Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and the Labour opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, are travelling the country before holding their final rallies in London. The issue of Brexit looms large. Here's our political correspondent, Rob Watson.
Despite being billed as one of the most important elections since 1945, an underwhelming and largely uneventful campaign is now drawing to an end. The Conservatives end it as they began, with a promise to get Brexit done, but with little clue as to just what that really means. Labour returns to its main theme of a larger, more interventionist state, while the biggest out-and-out anti-Brexit party, the Liberal Democrats, have struggled to make the breakthrough expected in a country so polarised along Leave-Remain lines.
The teenage campaigner Greta Thunberg has accused governments and corporations of failing to tackle climate change and hiding behind clever accounting and PR. Addressing the climate summit in Madrid, Ms. Thunberg said setting distant targets was doing more harm than good, especially because of constant attempts to find loopholes in order to circumvent them. As many as 20,000 people in Sydney have taken part in a climate change protest as wildfires continue to threaten the Australian city. A Green Party Member of Parliament from New South Wales, David Shoebridge, criticised government inaction.
We're in a city, a global city that's been shrouded in toxic smoke for weeks and weeks on end. We've come here wearing face masks so that the air of our towns and cities is safe to breathe. And we have a Premier who's missing in action.
A former Sydney fire chief has warned the city must brace itself for unprecedented losses as the fires draw closer to the suburbs. News from the BBC. The French Prime Minister, Edouard Philippe, has set out details of a flagship plan for a universal pension scheme, a major overhaul that sparked nationwide protests and strikes. Mr. Philippe said it would be a pact between generations built around social justice. He said it would help those, such as women, who are failed by current arrangements. The changes will replace 42 current schemes. The new plan would apply to everyone entering the French workforce from 2022. The state-owned Saudi oil producer Aramco has made its debut on the Riyadh stock market, with shares rising 10% above their opening price, the maximum permitted under the exchange's rules. Aramco is the world's biggest business and it provides most of Saudi Arabia's income. The dominant figure in Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, wants to diversify the economy. The money from selling 1.5% of Saudi Aramco is intended to help finance his ambitious plans. On the day before a presidential election in Algeria, thousands of people have come out onto the streets of the capital Algiers to protest against it being held. For months, huge demonstrations have been held in Algeria demanding a complete reform of the political system. The protesters reject the election as another ploy by the elite to hold on to power. Germany's government says it will help compensate German customers affected by the collapse earlier this year of the British travel company Thomas Cook. Here's Damien McGuinness.
Ordinarily, package holiday customers would be fully compensated by insurance, but the bankruptcy of Thomas Cook exceeds the amount that insurers will pay. In Germany, insurance will cover $120 million, but customers of the German branch of Thomas Cook are thought to have lost more than double that amount. The German government will now step in to cover that shortfall.
Damien McGuinness, BBC News.